Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have something super awesome to take a look at. This is actually a resin kit that I built and painted. I just recently acquired it, got it built, painted, and looking as pretty as you see here, which, I mean, I guess for being an old school dinosaur, he looks kind of dirty, a little bit ugly. So he's not all that pretty, I guess, but regardless, it's still a beautiful resin kit from one of my favorite sculptors in the entire world, Joe Laudati. If you don't know who Joe Laudati is, you really need to check him out, especially if you're a fan of like older dinosaur films or giant monster films, or just really kind of like vintage paleo art, vintage dinosaurs in general. Joe Laudati is the guy to look into, and this is actually a Charles R. Knight Tyrannosaurus interpretation that, if you take a look at this image, I'm sure you've seen before. If you are a longtime fan of dinosaurs, by now I would imagine you've seen this at some point. Again, it's an iconic image of a Tyrannosaurus, very old school looking, very vintage looking, and something that I kind of grew up on and really loved this image. And when I knew that Joe Laudati had created one of these, I was kind of intent on owning one, and I luckily now have it here in my possession. Again, recently built and painted, so I'm really excited to go ahead and review this, take a look at it with you guys. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get a closer look at it right now. Now, like usual, when it comes to a resin kit and something like this, the paint scheme on this is just the paint scheme that was given by me. So yours can honestly look however you would like it to look. This is the paint scheme I went with, and I thought, even though it looks really bright currently in the light that we have here, I thought as far as this figure goes, I thought it looked really close to the paint scheme on the original painting by Charles R. Knight, or at least about as close as I think I could get it. But we are pretty much here just to look at how nice the sculpt is, and not worry so much about my current paint job. I just wanted it looking nice and finished when I did review it. But if you look up here at the head sculpt, look at how beautiful the scales are all over the head sculpt of this Tyrannosaurus, this Charles R. Knight interpretation of a Tyrannosaurus. And you can see that as far as that detailing goes, it is off the charts. Beautiful, beautiful, very vintage style scales to the Tyrannosaurus. You can see the nostrils sculpted out up there, the ears sculpted out as well. Of course, in the original painting, the Tyrannosaur does have its mouth closed, so does ours as well. It has the mouth closed, looking really cool. And you can see really nice kind of skin wrinkling and everything going on here in the throat, just like you see in the original painting. A lot of really nice kind of like lizard-like scales that you could see there in the neck region of the Tyrannosaurus, but just the really cool skin kind of folding and everything looks really neat. As you move back here into the neck, you can see kind of like some muscle tone to the neck right there, which looks really cool. As we move down into the primary part of the body, you can see again some more really nice skin wrinkles here right at the base where the neck connects to the body, and you can also see some more beautiful scales in the stomach region of the Tyrannosaurus. Look at how gorgeous that scale work is. Again, extremely reminiscent to the actual dinosaur in the painting. You move down here into the arms. The arm sculpts look really nice, and one interesting aspect about this is that it has 3 claws, which sometimes confuses people and makes them wonder if it's actually an Allosaurus, but it's actually a Tyrannosaurus. It's just kind of like a little bit of a mix-up, I guess, on the part of Charles R. Knight, or maybe just an oversight. I'm not too sure exactly what the history is as far as why he gave it 3 fingers as opposed to the 2 fingers that a Tyrannosaurus should have, but again, it's just part of the charm of the model. If you look down here in the stomach, you can see some really nice skin detail as this leg's pushing into the body here, kind of scrunching that skin up right there in the stomach region, which looks really nice. Again, as we move up here into the body, just as I turn it, you can really get a very nice sense of like the overall shape of the dinosaur. You can see a little bit of like girth in the stomach region right there, as well as the shoulder blade a little bit there, which is really nice to see. If you look up here, you can again see some beautiful muscle tone here in the thigh. Very large bulging thigh muscles, as well as very nice calf muscles down here. If we move down into the foot sculpt also looks beautiful, just like it did in the original image. You can see kind of like, almost like some scoots that run down the toes. The nails are all, it's a little hard to get it into frame here, the nails are all really nicely sculpted as well. And you can see I've given them a little bit of a gloss coat, painted them with like a black and then a nice like gray dry brushing to bring that detail out. We do have the dew claw back here as well, which looks really cool. And then once we get past this point, the scaling picks up into like a very large scaly type of a look, similar to what we see on the underside of the dinosaur. It kind of has that sort of like larger, almost like a crocodilian type scaling to like the underside of a crocodile. and then we run out the length of the tail, and the tail looks really nice, has a nice curve to it, and these stripes here are kind of reminiscent of what you see in the original painting, but you don't see the stripes quite so vibrant. So this is sort of like my little ode to the original artist, because if you look at this image, this is an image of Joe Laudati's version of his own sculpture that he created, and he painted it kind of giving it some stripes, so I thought the stripes in the tail looked really cool, and although you can sort of make out stripes in the original painting, you don't see them quite as nicely as you see them on Joe Laudati's work. So on top of mine having a very similar paint scheme, in my opinion, to the original painting, I also kind of gave it like an ode to the original artist as far as like that striping on the tail, because I wanted it all to kind of blend together and be like a complete tribute to both Joe Laudati and Charles R. Knight, and I thought it turned out pretty cool. And then if we turn it around, again, you can see some more really nice detailing here in the throat down into the chest, and just like the previous side, you can see some more absolutely gorgeous sculpt and detail all throughout the neck region as far as like the skin wrinkles going. And then here in the neck, some more of that kind of musculature. The nostrils, the ears, the eyes are sculpted out really nicely. I've given them a nice black coloration with a gloss coat similar to what the eyes look like on the original image. As we move down here into the body, again, some more nice skin wrinkling right here as the body connects to the neck region. You can see some more of that gorgeous scale detail here in the stomach. The very nice arm sculpt over here as well, just like we had seen on the previous side. You can see some more beautiful skin kind of wrinkling here, but this time it's actually stretching as the Tyrannosaur is pulling its leg back, stretching the skin quite nicely, and that is beautifully shown right there in the sculpt of the Tyrannosaur. And again, just like the previous side, look as I turn it, just in general, the whole body, you can really see how nice the actual sculpt of the body shape is. You can see the hip bone over here. Again, some more girth in the stomach region as well as that shoulder blade a little bit right there. Beautiful muscle tone over here as well in both the thigh and calf region. And then the absolutely beautiful foot sculpt, just like we had seen on the previous side. And then we run out the length of the tail. Again, we pick up on those larger scales that run out the length of the tail. So as far as this Tyrannosaurus goes, I absolutely love it. It's so incredibly cool. And honestly, as far as the sculpt goes, I feel like it is picture perfect to what you do see in the original painting by Charles R. Knight. And one thing that's really cool about Joe Laudati even goes the extra mile to include a cloaca on the underside, to on top of giving it that really cool, very faithful tribute to Charles R. Knight, he also goes the extra mile as far as giving it some anatomical correctness, I guess you could say. And then as far as the actual base goes, if we stand our T-Rex up down there, the base itself is just kind of like a rocky terrain, kind of like an earthy and rocky terrain, and I gave it as nice of a paint job as I think I could, and also kind of given it a paint job similar again to what we had seen in the original painting, because it's sort of like what it looks like it's walking around on at that point in time. And you also have this area right in the front that does say Charles R. Knight, and I've painted that out with an orange to try to make that elaborated a little bit, but I think that the entire thing is just extremely, extremely cool. Very beautiful sculpt as far as the actual ground goes, the earthy texture and everything, including rocks and all that fun stuff, but even that nameplate just really tops the entire thing off. And on top of all that, if you flip it over, you actually have the autograph of Joe Laudati on the bottom, so you have the autograph of the original artist. It does not get much cooler than that, and again, the entire set overall is just absolutely awesome. Now, as you can see, the T-Rex can actually stand on its own. It doesn't need the base or anything to stand on. It can stand perfectly fine on its own, but to give it a measurement for a length from the tail to the head, and you can't really see it too well from your position, but you're looking at about 15 inches or about 38.5 centimeters. And then for a height, if we move it back here, kind of get it in frame a little bit, just a little under 8 inches or around the 20 centimeter mark. And then for the base itself, for a width, you are looking at about 7.5 inches or about 19 centimeters. And then in this direction, we are looking at about the 3-inch range or about 8 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Dilophosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line, next to our beautiful Charles R. Knight inspired Tyrannosaurus by Joe Laudati. And you can see probably by now how big the figure is, how big the statue is. It is actually quite nicely sized. Definitely has some very good size to it, very impressive size. Really a striking enough size to be pretty much a head turner when anyone walks into your home, and definitely would take note of something as awesome as this, I think. And you could definitely see probably about what the size is next to these figures right here. So this beautiful Joe Laudati resin kit. This Charles R. Knight inspired Tyrannosaurus resin kit is definitely and easily one of my new favorite pieces in my collection. It's something that I've wanted for quite a long time, so when I officially had a chance to purchase one, I kind of jumped on it, having a few extra bucks. At one point, I was completely positive what I was doing with that money, and that was ordering myself a few Joe Laudati kits. I actually have 2 other kits that I ordered that I'm going to build and paint and review for you guys very soon, but as of right now, this is the only one I have finished, but this is the one I think I was the most excited about. But that is not to say that the others are bad, because trust me, you'll love those if you love this one. But again, if you have never heard of Joe Laudati until this point, you really need to go over to his website, which I will include a link in the description for you to check out, because he just does some of the absolute most gorgeous work as far as dinosaur models go that you'll see anywhere, and I am completely certain of that. But as far as this very nice looking Charles R. Knight interpretation of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, again, it is gorgeous as far as the sculpt and detail goes. This is just sculpted so perfectly to exactly how it looks in the painting itself, and I think that as far as staying faithful in the sculpt to what you do see in the original image, it is spot on and picture perfect. Again, the paintwork here was done by me, so it's really your interpretation as to how you paint it, but I felt like my paint job that I did here got fairly close to what it looked like in the original, again adding in those stripes to sort of pay tribute to Joe Laudati himself in his version, but also sort of keeping it faithful enough to the original painting as well. And I think that it turned out decent. I kind of wanted it to just look like a very dirty looking, ugly, very dark looking Tyrannosaurus, because that's kind of what I see in the original painting, and I feel like I pulled it off fairly well. But again, this is something that is just my version as far as the paint job goes. You can paint yours and create whatever scene you would like, however you would like, and that's one thing that I love about resin kits. It's because you get to actually create something to be proud of and something that is your own version of whatever model you are buying. So if you have not purchased any resin kits previously, I really do recommend getting a hold of some, because they are just an absolute ton of fun. And these Joe Laudati resin kits are pretty much some of the best out there, so if you're going to buy resin kits, do not hesitate on picking up some of these. Specifically, this one itself is incredibly nice, so I will include a link in the description to where you can purchase this unbelievably nice Charles R. Knight resin kit from Joe Laudati. So once this video is over, make sure you head down to that description, head on over to the Joe Laudati website, and pick yourself up some incredible Joe Laudati resin kits. But before you do that, make sure you also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.